All right, T-Timers, welcome back. Today we're diving into, well, a really profound topic, childbirth. Now, for many, the thought of labor brings up a mix of excitement, maybe anticipation, but also, let's be real, often some fear and anxiety too. But what if there was an approach aimed at reframing that whole experience, making it feel more, I don't know, natural and empowering? You've shared a great stack of sources with us on hypnobirth therapy dated August 27, 2025. It looks like a really thorough overview, methods, history, impact. So our mission today is to cut through the noise a bit, uncover what this practice is really about, look at the psychology, the science, how it works, and what it truly offers.
Exactly. We'll be exploring, is this a scientific breakthrough? Is it more of a psychological tool? Or maybe even a kind of philosophy for approaching, well, one of life's biggest moments? We need to look at what the research actually says, what the practitioners are claiming, and I think most importantly, what it might mean for you, the listener. Hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a clearer picture of hypnobirthing, beyond just the name, so you can form your own informed view.
Okay, let's unpack that then. When you hear hypnobirthing, what first comes to mind? I mean, it can sound a bit mystical, maybe.
It can, yeah, but our sources really define it pretty clearly. It's essentially a childbirth preparation method. It combines self-hypnosis, specific relaxation techniques, and breathing methods.
Right.
The core idea, really, is to reframe the whole experience of birth, to move away from maybe stress or dread towards seeing it as natural, physiological, and actually empowering. It's not about, pretending labor isn't intense, but changing your relationship to the sensations, the fear, the unknown. It's maybe less a strict technique and more a philosophy in a way.
Okay, and the sources break down some key components.
They do. It's interesting how they fit together. There's guided visualization.
So imagining positive birth scenarios.
Exactly, kind of conditioning the mind. Then there are affirmations repeating positive, empowering thoughts to counteract fear.
Makes sense.
Breathing techniques are huge, obviously. Specific ways to breathe, to stay calm, and reduce physical tension.
And partners get involved too.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Birth partners learn specific ways to provide support through touch, words, just their presence, really.
So it sounds like it's pulling from psychology, meditation, that whole mind-body awareness field. And importantly, you said it's not promising a completely pain-free birth, but aiming for feeling in control, calmer, more connected. That feels like a really significant distinction, wouldn't you say?
It absolutely is, and I think that distinction is key to understanding its value. It doesn't promise zero pain, because birth involves intense physical sensations, but it does aim to help mothers feel empowered, calmer, more connected to their bodies and babies. It shifts the goalpost, maybe, from no pain to a positive, empowered experience, even if things don't go exactly as planned or if medical help is needed.
Okay, that helps clarify. Now, to really get this, you mentioned looking back, this isn't some brand new idea, is it?
Not at all. To really understand hypnobirthing, we should glance at its roots. The idea of, painless childbirth, or at least easier childbirth, goes back to the early 20th century. A key figure was Dr. Grantley Dick Reed. He was a British obstetrician, and his 1933 book, Natural Childbirth, was pretty groundbreaking.
1933, wow.
Yeah. He talked about what he called the fear-tension-pain cycle. His idea was that fear itself creates muscle tension, and that tension makes the physical sensations of labor feel much more intensely like pain. So he suggested that relaxation and confidence could actually reduce suffering, that cycle. It's absolutely fundamental to hypnobirthing today.
Fear, tension, pain. Okay.
And around that same time, hypnosis itself was already being explored for pain relief in medicine, surgery, dentistry, even psychiatry.
Oh, okay.
So applying it to childbirth wasn't such a huge leap, It was a natural fit for those findings.
So this definitely isn't some new age fad then. It's building on decades of thought, connecting our mental state to physical experience.
Yeah.
What about Marie Mongan? How did she fit in and help it become what it is today?
Great, Marie Mongan. She was an American hypnotherapist. In the late 80s and 90s, she really formalized things. She took those existing ideas, the hypnosis, the relaxation, visualization, affirmations, and integrated them into a structured program, the hypnobirthing program specifically.
So she packaged it, made it accessible.
Exactly. She created a systematic course that expectant parents could actually take. And that structured approach is really what popularized the method globally, bringing these mind-body tools to a much wider audience.
That historical thread makes a lot of sense. But, the big question for many people is probably, does it actually work? Is there solid scientific backing, or is it more about feeling good, the anecdotal side?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Let's dive into the evidence, both psychological and the harder science. Psychologically, the foundations are quite strong.
Okay.
That fear, tension, pain cycle we talked about,
Mm.
it's a well-recognized phenomenon in physiology and psychology. Fear triggers fight or flight, muscles tense up, pain signals get amplified, which makes you more scared.
Mm.
It's a vicious loop.
Right.
Hypnobirthing directly targets breaking that cycle, primarily at the fear and tension points. Then you have expectancy effects. What we expect to happen genuinely influences our experience. Think placebo or nocebo effects. Positive affirmations, visualizing a positive birth. These can literally change how we perceive pain, boost our resilience, and even how we remember the event afterwards. And the mind-body connection is real here too. Relaxation techniques demonstrably lower stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline.
Which can interfere with labor.
Right, exactly. And at the same time, relaxation encourages hormones like oxytocin, which helps labor progress, and endorphins, the body's natural pain relievers. Plus, there's a huge psychological benefit in feeling like you have some agency, some control, feeling active, not just passive. That sense of control is strongly linked to better emotional outcomes after birth, even if the birth itself gets complicated.
So the brain is definitely a major player. A lot of this seems to be about shifting the internal landscape, which then impacts the physical process. But what about, the hard science? Can we actually measure this stuff, see it on a brain scan or something?
That's a fair question. And yes, to some extent we can. Scientifically, research using tools like fMRI has shown that hypnosis can change how the brain processes pain signals. It seems to reduce activity in brain areas associated with both the intensity of pain and the emotional distress that comes with it. So there's evidence for the mechanism of hypnosis itself. However, when you look specifically at clinical trials on hypnobirthing for childbirth, the evidence gets a bit, mixed, but still promising.
Mix how?
While some studies do report positive outcomes, less need for pharmacological pain relief, lower anxiety scores, people reporting more positive birth experiences overall, some hint at potentially shorter labor, maybe, in certain groups.
Okay.
But other studies find minimal, significant differences compared to standard childbirth education classes. And those big evidence summaries, like Cochrane reviews, they tend to conclude that while there's potential, we need more high-quality, large-scale research to draw really firm conclusions about its universal effectiveness.
That mixed evidence can be tough to navigate if you're trying to decide. How should someone make sense of that? Why is it so hard to get a clear answer?
That's a really crucial point. It highlights a challenge in studying experiences like birth, which are just so deeply personal and variable. Think about it. Standardizing birth for a randomized controlled trial is incredibly difficult. Every person's body, their emotional state, their environment, their support system, it's all unique.
Right. You can't control all those variables.
Exactly. So while the mechanism that hypnosis can influence pain perception has scientific backing, proving its consistent overall effect across all those unique birth scenarios is statistically challenging. So for someone considering it, maybe it's less about waiting for definitive universal proof and more about whether the approach resonates, whether the tools seem useful for them.
Okay, so it offers practical tools based on sound principles, even if the guarantee isn't there for every single person in every situation.
Precisely. It's providing skills for coping, for feeling empowered, for creating a more positive mental state leading into and during birth.
And it's clear from the sources, this isn't something you just decide to do on the day. It requires real preparation, right? Like actual practice.
Oh, absolutely. This is not a passive thing. Most people start learning hypnobirthing techniques during pregnancy, usually second or early third trimester. You need time to practice. You're essentially building like muscle memory for relaxation, training your mind and body to respond in a certain way.
So what does that preparation actually look like?
Typically, it involves several things. Often structured classes or courses like the official hypnobirthing program, usually 4 or 5 sessions. Then there's regular practice with guided hypnosis recordings, listening daily or weekly to relaxation scripts, positive affirmations, visualizations, maybe picturing a calm place during practice contractions.
Okay.
Learning specific breathing techniques is key. There's often surge breathing for handling contractions-focused, long exhales, and maybe a birth breath for the pushing stage, working with the body, plus a calm baseline breath.
And the partner's role?
Very active. Partners learn specific cues, maybe a touch on the shoulder, a particular word that act as anchors to trigger relaxation. They also learn how to help create and maintain that calm environment. Low lights, music, scents, whatever works.
The sources even mentioned a kind of skills program over 6 to 8 weeks. With daily practice.
Yes, exactly. It's quite structured. Daily sessions working on things like progressive muscle relaxation, learning to induce self-hypnosis quickly, conditioning those anchors with the partner, building personalized affirmations like, my body knows how to birth my baby, even rehearsing labor sets to practice applying the techniques during simulated surges.
Wow, okay. And a partner playbook.
Yeah, outlining specific things the partner can do at different stages, reading scripts, reminding of breathing, protecting the calm space. It's about making the partner a really effective, knowledgeable support. It's building that conditioned relaxation response so it becomes almost automatic.
So it's definitely a commitment. You lay that foundation, build those skills, and then when labor actually starts.
That's when the practice hopefully pays off. The tools get deployed. In early labor, the breathing and relaxation help conserve energy, manage the buildup. Visualization, affirmations help keep fear and adrenaline down. As labor gets more active, the hypnosis techniques can deepen. People often describe getting into a zone where they're very inwardly focused. The partner's role here is huge, soft voice, touch, reminders of those practiced cues, breathing through the surges rather than tensing against them.
And for pushing.
Instead of maybe purple face straining, some methods encourage breathing the baby down, using directed exhales, trusting the body's reflexes, staying relaxed. And critically, even if plans change, say an epidural is needed or even a C-section, these techniques don't just go out the window. They can still be incredibly helpful for managing anxiety, making calm decisions, and even aiding recovery afterwards.
That adaptability sounds really important. The tools are still useful.
Absolutely key. Birth is unpredictable. Having tools that help you cope, regardless of the twists and turns, is invaluable.
Okay, so given all of that, it sounds like a really comprehensive approach. Why would someone specifically choose this? What draws people to hypnobirthing? And conversely, what are the potential pitfalls or downsides?
Good questions. There are definitely strong reasons for its appeal. For many, it offers a sense of control or agency in an experience that can sometimes feel very medicalized and out of your hands.
I can see that.
It directly addresses the fear and anxiety that so many people feel about birth, reframing it as something natural and manageable. It appeals to those looking for a holistic mind-body approach. And, as we discussed, the partner inclusion is a big draw. It gives partners a really meaningful, active role.
And the benefits people report.
Psychologically, often less fear, more confidence, a more positive memory of the birth. Physiologically, the relaxation helps manage stress hormones, potentially supporting smoother labor progression with more oxytocin and endorphins. Practically, it just gives you concrete coping tools, breathing, visualization that work, even if you end up needing medical interventions. And often, even if the birth wasn't exactly what they envisioned, people report feeling more in control, less traumatized, which is huge for postpartum well-being.
Those are definitely compelling benefits. But like anything that sounds this good, there must be criticisms or potential risks, right?
Yeah.
Is it for everyone?
That's where we need nuance. A really important point raised in the sources is about unrealistic expectations.
Ah,
If someone goes in believing hypnobirthing guarantees a totally pain-free, intervention-free birth, they might feel like they failed, or feel intense guilt or disappointment if it's still challenging or if interventions become necessary. That misinterpretation of the promise can actually be emotionally damaging. Feeling like you failed at birth because you needed help is a heavy burden.
that's a really crucial point. What else?
Well, there can sometimes be skepticism from medical staff who might see it as a bit out there, and if the hospital environment isn't supportive, it can be harder to practice effectively. As we touched on, the scientific evidence for overall outcomes in childbirth is still debated, even if the underlying principles of hypnosis for pain are supported. Critics point to the reliance on subjective reports. And accessibility can be an issue. The formal classes cost money and time. There's also a subtle risk, some argue, that an overemphasis on natural birth could inadvertently make people feel ashamed if they choose or need medical interventions like epidurals or C-sections.
Oh, definitely not a one-size-fits-all magic bullet then.
Absolutely not. Birth is incredibly personal. What feels empowering and right for one person might feel stressful or unrealistic for another, which is why it's so important to know the alternatives or things that can be combined with it.
Like what?
Well, standard childbirth classes like Lamaze or Bradley focus on breathing and support, just maybe less on the hypnosis aspect. There's medical pain relief, epidurals, gas and air, etc. Mindfulness and yoga for birth share some common ground with the relaxation and breath focus. Doula support offers continuous emotional and practical help.
And many people mix and match.
Very much so. Many people learn hypnobirthing techniques as coping tools, but remain open to using medical options if they feel they need them. The key seems to be flexibility.
So prepare with skills, whether from hypnobirthing or elsewhere, but keep an open mind and an adaptable plan.
Exactly. Preparedness plus adaptability seems to be the sweet spot for navigating birth with confidence.
Wow, what a comprehensive journey through hypnobirthing.
Yeah.
We've gone from its historical roots and that fear, tension, pain idea through the psychology and the science and right into the nitty-gritty of practice and preparation. It really does seem like that concept of reframing the experience is at the absolute heart of it.
Indeed. We've seen it's not some kind of magic trick, but a really practical approach focused on training the mind. The benefits seem clearest on the psychological side, that sense of empowerment, reduced anxiety, feeling more in control. That stuff matters immensely, maybe even more than just the pain score itself. And the potential risks seem to mainly cluster around those unrealistic expectations or becoming too rigid in the approach, which can kind of undermine the whole point.
So boiling it all down, what does this mean for you, our listener, trying to make sense of this for potentially your own journey?
Well, ultimately, while we always want solid scientific proof, sometimes in these deeply human experiences, practicality and what feels right for you matter just as much. Even if every single claim isn't yet backed by perfect gold standard trials that capture every nuance. If learning hypnobirthing techniques helps you approach labor feeling more peaceful, more connected, more resilient,
If it helps you feel calmer and more in control.
exactly, then it absolutely has value, profound value. The real question isn't maybe whether it's universally right or wrong, but what tools resonate with you and feel right for your unique path through birth. Hypnobirthing really offers a way to kind of rewrite the story of birth for yourself, giving you more agency in how you perceive it and move through it, whatever happens.
That's a really insightful way to frame it. Preparing, yes, but also embracing that adaptability and agency. That really does feel like the core of navigating childbirth with confidence. Thank you so much for taking us through this deep dive. Really fascinating stuff. And thank you all for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.